Ready? Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order for the Polk County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, November 26, 2024. All commissioners are present. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First up, first up on our agenda is for comments for items not on the agenda. As always, we are limited to 3 minutes. Anyone?
Robert Greenway, 2223 Southeast Academy Street. I think this is like the 7th or 8th time I've been here. Still haven't heard anything back about my comments about your DA's office. I've sent information to Mr. Smith here now that I have the thumb drive that actually has the video of the Salem police officer saying what information he got from supposedly 2 assistant DAs when he called. Again, you guys don't do anything about it. They made stupid and ignorant answers to the officer who pointed it back out to me, and then actually after seeing the videos, actually went into the building codes division and told the head lady there exactly the same thing. Okay, how ludicrous is this, that when you're in a public building like this, they have hours you're allowed to be there. According to the DA ladies, if I go in there and I ask you the same question, I can be trespassed. But if I come in there and ask you a different question, I can stay. But they still came and tried to trespass me, even though they had the law interpreted supposedly from the DA people. So you guys need to get your SHIT together and find out what's going on with this DA office, plus the Aaron, whatever his name is, Felton, lied in an email to me, about causing physical, stuff, and I haven't heard anything from anybody about it. So basically, you're going to let these people go on and not say anything. I don't know what your job is here, but I understand that you're supposed to have, a little bit of discretion over, their agency since you fund them. So if they keep getting away with this stuff, like I told you, I'm not going away. If you want to keep listening to me every day for the rest of your lives until somebody comes and talks to me and explains to me how this is, possible. There's no case law on it. Since I've been gone for the couple of weeks, I've studied. There's no case law for the BS of these 2 ladies who nobody seems to know their names. What's going on? It's a joke. The whole thing is a joke, when somebody from up there who's supposed to be a better person by taking an oath to protect and serve, comes up with this ludicrous stuff and tells me that I caused, physical, whatever he used. Okay. I asked them for, what I did, and who said that I did it? Nothing. Okay. If you don't have anything to go by, then keep your damn mouth shut or prove it.
Public comment. Anyone else? All right. Seeing none, I'm going to move on. Looking for approval of the agenda.
Also move.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed unanimously. Approval of minutes of November 5th.
I move approval. I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed unanimously. Initiation of a legislative amendment. Eric Knudsen. Morning, team.
I am Eric Knudsen, Senior Planner with the Community Development Department. I am here to discuss whether or not the board would like to initiate a legislative amendment to amend the Polk County zoning ordinance in order to allow for accessory dwelling units or ADUs on properties within rural residential zones. Currently, ADUs are allowed in residential zones within urban growth boundary. Recent changes to state law now give counties the option to permit ADUs in residential zones outside of an urban growth boundary. If these new laws are adopted, the county must, at a minimum, conform to the specific standards listed in ORS 215-495. But the county may also choose to adopt additional standards to be more restrictive in statute. In part, the standards listed in ORS 215-495 require that the parcel in which the ADU would be sited must be at least 2 acres in size and contain 1 single-family dwelling. The ADU may not exceed 900 square feet in size and must be located within 100 feet of the existing dwelling. And the ADU may not be used for vacation occupancy. Upon initiation of the legislative amendment, public hearings before the Planning Commission and the Board of Commissioners would be scheduled in order to receive public testimony, evaluate potential text amendments, and make a final local decision regarding this legislative amendment. Staff recommends that the board determine that updating the Polk County zoning ordinance in order to allow for rural ADUs would be in the public interest and of general public benefit, and initiate this legislative amendment.
Questions, board members? Action?
I'd like to move to direct staff to initiate a legislative amendment to allow ADUs outside of the UGB as presented.
I'd like to second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to move this initiated process forward. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed unanimously. Thank you, team.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next up is a Polk County Treasurer discussion. Mr. Milligan.
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Morning.
I'm gonna hand out some documents here to you guys. I thought they were gonna be included in the digital packet, but they didn't appear to be when I looked online.
Yeah.
So I trust that you got the digital copy that I sent so that you would know what I was gonna go over this morning. So the first document that I've provided in the packet to you is the copy of the judgment. I want to read specifically items 4 and 5. Item 4, Polk County, including its commissioners, administrator, and other agents and employees, must allow and facilitate the duly elected treasurer to discharge the powers, duties, and functions and prerogatives of the treasurer as required by the Oregon Constitution and Oregon statutes. Item 5. Steve Milligan is the current duly elected treasurer of Polk County. He is entitled to discharge the functions of the office of Polk County Treasurer pursuant to Article 6, Section 6 of the Oregon Constitution, Chapter 208 of the Oregon Revised Statutes, and other applicable statutes and sources of law. Absent the consent of the Polk County Treasurer, actions to disempower and remove from the elected treasurer the authority, responsibilities, and functions of the office under the Oregon Constitution or statute, and to reassign such constitutional or statutory authority, responsibilities, or functions to an unelected employee who is not hired by and does not report to the treasurer are unlawful. Then you'll see the next item in the packet is an interoffice memo that was prepared back in December of 2015, presented to the commissioners regarding the transfer of duties from the treasurer to an unelected official. So I want to go back to the second page of that under alternatives that Mr. Hansen had provided the commissioners at the time for changing and creating a resolution. And what I wanted to point out on this one is item 3. One of the options was to hire a finance position and elect a full-time treasurer, keeping the salary the same, approximately $72,000. And what I want to point out here is that Mr. Hansen has continually tried to tell me that the treasurer is a part-time job, but at the same time, he contradicts that because in this document, he writes that the treasurer that's elected is a full-time position.
No, he did not. That was an alternative of 3 alternatives that were posted before the Board of Commissioners for a decision.
And one of the decisions was that he understood that the treasurer was a full-time position.
That's not what it states. It said it was an
Okay,
option.
So let me go back to the next item in the packet so that we get through this, and then however you want to argue with me, you can. So the next one I want to put in front of you is, I believe I put the administrative officer classification specification. And if you look at item 1, which I've highlighted, it says the administrative officer performs administrative work in planning and coordinating operations in county government under the authority of the Board of Commissioners, works closely with individual elected officials and department heads on specific assignments. If you'll turn to the next page, under the ability of this employee, you'll see the highlighted part that says the ability to establish and maintain effective working relationships with the Board of Commissioners, department heads, elected officials, employees, and officials from other agencies and the general public. So in the 4 years that I've been here, I've never had any cooperation from Mr. Hansen. In conversations I've had with him, and cease and desist letters that I've had, in relationships, and trying to get to the bottom of how I can do the duties that I was elected to do. I also want to point out in the next piece that I gave you was the chief treasurer's clerk, which was the position that was in place at the time that I was elected and after I was sworn in. Subsequently, after this was done, this position was changed to a chief finance clerk and then ultimately changed to a financial analyst. If you look at the duties as it had been changed over the years, which I don't have copies of those, you'll notice that the predominant principal duties are ORS 208. But what I want to point out in there is the second paragraph in the specifications under supervision received. It said works under the direction of the treasurer who outlines objectives and policies and reviews work or results obtained. And Mr. Hansen has continued to say that I would have no supervisory role, but yet you have a document in here for that at the time was the chief treasurer's clerk that specifically said they worked under the supervision of the treasurer, but yet I've never been or had access or communication with this employee to provide supervision. You have put an elected person or unelected person in supervision of this employee. So what I'm asking for at this point is that you understand that as an elected official, there's absolutely no reason that I should be here, in essence, begging for my position. You don't do that to the sheriff. You didn't do that to the clerk. You didn't do that to the assessor. So why are you doing it to me? I'm asking a question. This is not public comment. We're in an engaged conversation. You're obstructing me from doing my job. the court has already ruled with a court order that said you need to stop and allow me to do my job.
Mr. Milligan, did the court decide that you were obstructed by the county administrator? Did they take a position on that?
They
The
did
answer is
not.
no, I was in the room.
So let's,
So let's not argue. I think
Okay.
we should, just let me finish. We should ground our conversation on how we move forward with defining what's in statute. Acknowledging that we likely will not assign you duties outside of 208. And
you don't have the authority to assign me anything. I am the elected treasurer. I don't know how you don't
Steve, I'm
understand that.
gonna
You're the
finish what I
elected
said.
commissioner.
I'm going to finish what I said. In the past, and this is irrelevant to the present conversation, the county treasurer held duties that existed outside of 208, right? It was sort of a dual duty. You're pointing to things in the past that's irrelevant for the purpose of this conversation. What we need to do is start fresh, re-examine 208 to make sure our workflow is consistent with that statute, that you have what you need to provide the deliverables outlined in 208, to provide us with monthly financial reports and the like. What's happened in the past, your opinion of our county administrator is irrelevant. Okay? The judge ruled that the county ordinance is in conflict with the state statute. So we're starting fresh to re-examine that. I suggest for the purposes of today that we
Okay, so.
think of a process to
let's-
get to that.
So let's start fresh. Let's go back to 2015, prior to the resolution. We have to go back to that because the resolution was just rendered moot.
I mean, feel free to speak, and I don't mean to take over the
No,
meeting.
that's
here.
fine.
Feel free to speak, but what was done in the past in 2015, what our previous treasurer's duties were outside of ORS 208 are irrelevant to this discussion at this point.
No, they're not.
Okay,
Because what you did was you took and created a resolution which transferred the duties of the treasurer to a finance director. You had instructed people to say, well, let's bring out how to split the duties up. Then there were some documents that were created but never codified. Then when I got elected, it was real convenient while Linda was still the treasurer at the time because she could do whatever she wanted because Greg was there and nobody was questioning what the authorities were and what the responsibilities were. Then I get elected and I say, I want to do the job. And I'm told, we'll get back to you when we figure it out. But you'd had 4 years to figure it out, but you never had put anything in place in those 4 years. Now, I know I'm talking to some of you who weren't here during those 4 years. Greg was here during those 4 years. The interesting thing about commissions is that commissions are a continuum. So regardless of what you came into, you're still held accountable for the decisions that were made prior to you. I understand that because I've been a city councilor and a mayor in a city in which there were things when I came on board that decisions that were made for land use or whatever, I still had to make sure that they were complicit with the law. If they weren't, then it was my responsibility to change. And so in 2020, I presented to the commission that they were out of compliance with the law. I showed you the documents after you were appointed, and you guys had them in the meeting. And you just said, we want to do what Greg wants to do. Well, Greg wanted to break the law, as is shown by this judgment and this court order, that the law was broken. Now we need to come back in compliance with what it was. And you can't just go, oh, well, all this stuff that was changed as the result of that decision now is okay because it was just the decision that was wrong. But the whole process that's happened since that decision in changing job titles, in changing who got to do the responsibilities, in changing the location of the office by title, those all need to go back to what it was prior to that decision.
according to what authority?
According to reasonable human understanding. I mean, I get that you guys are all wanting to protect what you did. I understand that. But at some point you have to understand that the court order said you don't get to stand on that anymore. That you need to be complicit with the law.
Mhm.
And so now what I'm coming to you is saying, okay, so I want to be able to do my duties as the treasurer, the same way you allow the assessor to do their job as the assessor, the way you allow the clerk to do their job as a clerk, and the way you allow the sheriff to do his job as the sheriff. None of you have intervened on that. Why you've chosen to intervene on the treasurer, I have no idea. I have no idea, because you didn't have any authority to change statute. But you did. And you've made a lot of changes since then. So it's time that you say, we're wrong. We need to make it right so that we're not in contempt of court. Then you need to work with me. But right now, it doesn't sound like you want to work with me. Do you?
I would tell you first and foremost, the premise that you're making that we broke the law, I disagree with. We didn't break the law. We followed sound legal advice to get to where we are. Yes, you have a judgment that has interpreted what we did as unenforceable. He never said we broke the law, but unenforceable. I still believe that the work that we've done to demonstrate the reasons for an ordinance and subsequent resolution was legal and sound. Yes, we've had a judge that has seen it differently. And again, if we were to go back and find another judge, perhaps it would be the other way. But there is a judicial process that can be followed to
And there is.
challenge that opinion.
Well, there is, but right now, until that happens, there's a court order telling you that you need to allow me to do my job.
No, that's not what it says. It says our ordinance and resolution is unenforceable. It doesn't say what you're saying. So
Well, that's a court.
bottom line is we're here today to try and figure out what do you need to do the elements of the job that you think are important and necessary as the treasurer.
I need access to the office upstairs
Why?
because that's where the records are that I'm supposed to be in possession.
But everything is digital.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's in drawers up there. For crying out loud, when was the last time you were upstairs in that office?
I don't need to be in that office.
So you don't know
If
what's
I
up
need
there.
something, I ask.
So you don't know what's up there.
I don't need to be in that office. I know that it's digital.
So I need to be in that office.
The judge explicitly, that was in your lawsuit, the judge explicitly said that you are not entitled to that. That he
No,
didn't
he
make a
said
judgment on
he
the
said you
location
guys
of your
could make a decision.
Yes.
And right now,
Yes, we could move your office, Steve, and office space is changing all the time depending.
I'm done.
depending-
I'm done.
Okay,
If you want it. So you would rather do what Greg wants to do than
No,
what the judge wants to do.
we want
we're
to do,
trying to do what's best to protect the county and the citizens.
So the
of the
best to
county.
protect the county is to let me do my job.
Didn't say you couldn't do your job.
Well, I can't even get in the office downstairs anymore
Steve,
Why?
because my card key won't
You know
work.
why that is? Do you understand what happens when you don't access a space? Your code expires. When was the last time you actually did any work for the county?
When was
Access
the
your
last time you
computer.
had me do
When
work?
was the last
You
time?
had-
I want a
you
date.
had-
Tell me the day that you actually showed up here and did real work.
I never did real
You've
work
never
because
done
I
it
was
in
never
4
allowed to
years.
do-
You've never done any work here.
Greg,
Just put
I
it on
was
the
never
record.
allowed to do work. Greg.
No one stopped you from entering that office. We built a brand new office for you. All the highest technology available.
Oh,
You have
no,
access
you've
to
never been
everything
down
you
in that
need.
office. Come
Everything
on,
you need.
I'm done arguing. I'm gonna call my attorney. My attorney will talk to your attorney and we'll move forward.
Mr. Milligan, I suggest that the next time we meet, you explain to us what you need to fulfill the duties of ORS 208, to receive and disperse county funds, maintain accurate financial records, and to provide the monthly financial reports that are required of you by statute.
I need to be.
We need to get
I
practical.
need to be in the treasurer's office.
That's
It has
your
traditionally
opinion.
been the treasurer's office.
That's irrelevant to this discussion. Your office space, as the judge has said, is irrelevant and is a county decision. We appreciate the request. We're happy to look at what can happen in the future, but right now we don't have space for you where you would like it. It's just,
So why don't you go down there? If you like it, go down there. Let me use your office.
well, if office space is really your number one
It's not-
requirement to do the job,
It's like, for the last, and when this annex was built, that was the treasurer's office. Until December of 2020, it was labeled as the treasurer's office. After I was elected, then it changed to become the finance office. So when Craig Pope says that to one of the reporters that this isn't personal, everything that has been done leads me to believe it was personal. Because if you wanted to be compliant with the law, if Chris Patone had won the election, would he be here having to talk with you?
Yeah, likely.
Yeah,
Why?
because
Well, first of all, you have a statutory responsibility to report to us monthly.
But what I mean is, would he be trying to figure out where he was ready to be, like, I don't mind an office in the basement. I don't mind wandering the halls. I don't mind not working. That was Chris's attitude on the campaign trail. That's the guy you were supporting. He was okay with it being against the law. So obviously you don't really care. As long as you have power to do what you want, you're going to do what you want. Right?
absolutely not. We want to be compliant with the statute and work as a board to look at the
So-
best interests of the
so the
county
thing is-
in our fiscal processes, which involve multiple people.
But I was elected,
Multiple custodial officers.
But I was elected to be the chief financial officer for all the funds in the county, including all the money that's collected for all the taxing districts.
There's nothing in
Hey,
the
you're not
statute that says
responsible
the
for
words
it.
chief financial officer, first of all. What we need to know from you is what you need, other than office space, which is arbitrary,
You to get out of my way. You to let me do my job.
to receive and disperse
Allow me
county
to Get in
funds,
the office so I can
maintain accurate
supervise.
financial records of the treasurer's office, and to provide timely and transparent financial reports to this board of commissioners. Those are your deliverables. That's what you are required to provide. And the
But I don't have access
judge,
to the
judge-
tools to let me do that.
our financial books are digital. We have some petty cash. Is that what you'd like access to?
No,
We don't keep ledgers like they did in the 70s.
trust me. I've been doing accounting for 20 years. I know what happens. So I'm not the person that Greg was worried about. Greg was worried that he was going to get somebody who didn't have any accounting background, who had no finance or management background. I have that in spades.
Don't worry about Greg. The only authority we need to look at is the statute and then what's within our ability to work together to find workflow that's compliant with the statute and protects the county finances.
And so then
Can we
allow
agree to-
me to go up to the treasurer's office
That is not
and
the
do the
treasurer's
duties of
office.
the treasurer. It wasn't until I got elected the first time.
It's irrelevant.
You guys are, again, I'm done.
All right.
Okay. Do we have any non-listed items?
Not for me, sir.
Okay. We are adjourned.